high, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized.
Hello everyone, welcome back Thousand Life fam. If you're new here, my name's Janaea and this is Live 1,000 Lives. Today we're going to be doing my May and June wrap up. If you guys don't know, I use Copile for my rating system. So that is how I get the ratings for books, and Copile was created by G at Book Roast. I will leave her video for it in the cards for you guys so you can check it out. It's a really good rating system. So with that being said, let's get on to May's wrap up.
The sounds I'm breathing in, hold tight, hold tight.
So in the month of May, I only completed one book, and that was Rat Queens Volume 1. For this, I gave it a 4-star. In Copile, I gave it an 8 across the board. So characters, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment, I gave it all 8s. So the overall rating was an 8.00, which is a 4-star. Rat Queens is about a group of women who are kind of like the troublemakers, I guess, in this town, and they're sent on a mission. It's become clear that they were set up on a mission of failure, basically. It was interesting, it was fun, it just wasn't quite a 5-star for me. So that is the only book I completed in May. I did read other books, I just didn't complete them in May. So now let's go to my June wrap up.
Chemicals collide, hold tight, hold tight.
So the first book that I completed in June was Tim Tebow's This Is the Day. This is a devotional book that I picked up, and I really enjoyed this. I didn't put it through Copile because to me nonfiction doesn't really fit with the Copile system, because like there's no characters in nonfiction. There's not really a plot in nonfiction. So I don't really rate them through Copile. I just go with the star rating that I feel is adequate for the book. So I gave this book a 5-star, and some reasons that I gave this book a 5-star is it made me cry multiple times. So it was obviously a hard-hitting and emotional read for me. 2, I still think about the things that were in this book even 2 months or a month later. Some of the things that I learned from this book I'm trying to implement into my life, so it's changing me in positive ways. So that's another reason I gave it a 5-star. The last reason I gave it a 5-star kind of goes with number 2, and that is the things that I learned from this book are sticking with me. So that was the first book I finished in June. The next book that I finished in June was In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire, and I gave this a 4-star. Through Copile, I gave characters a 9, atmosphere a 10, writing a 9, plot an 8, intrigue a 9, logic a 7, and enjoyment a 9. The overall rating was 8.17. So In an Absent Dream, I can't really tell you too much about it because if you haven't read the first 3 books, then it will spoil this one for you. So I can't really tell you much about it. The premise of this series is that we're following kids who have gone to other worlds, kind of like Narnia or Alice in Wonderland type worlds, and they end up coming back to our world and they have a hard time readjusting. All they want to do is get back to the world they found, and there's a school that helps them either transition back to the world, or that helps them kind of like not really helps them find their door again, but like helps them to keep hope that they will find their door again. It's really fun series. I gave this one a 4-star. It's not my favorite, but it's also not my least favorite in the series so far. Let's move on to the next one. The next one was Raven the Pirate Princess Volume 4. Raven the Pirate Princess is one of my favorite graphic novels of all times. Like, this series is amazing. So it follows a band of pirate crew who are made up of all women, and these women are all diverse in culture, religion, race, in their sexualities, and really good. I really enjoy this kick-ass band of girl pirates. I gave this one a 5-star. In Copile, characters got a 9, atmosphere a 10, writing a 9, plot an 8, intrigue a 9, logic an 8, and enjoyment a 10. The overall rating was 9.00, so 5-star, and I highly recommend. Check it out. The next book I read by listening to it on audio was The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Audier, and this is about a girl who goes to marry the prince of this world, and she does it out of revenge because of a friend of hers. This prince is kind of evil, and he takes the wife like every day or every certain amount of time, and by the next morning they have died. So she goes kind of for revenge, and adventure and mystery ensues. So it was really good. I think I would love to read this physically. I don't have a physical copy at the moment, but I think I would really enjoy it physically as well. So with that being said, I gave it a 4-star. In Copile, for characters, I gave it an 8. For atmosphere, I gave it a 9. For writing and plot, I gave it a 9. For intrigue and logic, I gave it an 8. For enjoyment, I also gave it an 8. And the overall rating came out at an 8.43. So a high 4-star. I think that there were some things that I missed because of the audiobook that I would have liked to took a slower time at. So that rating may change when I reread it physically, but for now it's a 4-star, and there's nothing wrong with 4 stars. So the next book that I read in the month of June was Stone Fox, which was a childhood favorite of mine. And this is about a boy whose grandpa doesn't get out of bed one day. He's alive, but he doesn't move, he doesn't speak, he just lays in bed. And Willie is the boy's name, finds out that it's because the tax man is coming and they don't have enough money to give the tax man, so the farm will be taken away. So Willie is trying to find how to raise the money for the farm, basically, to keep the farm and to keep Grandpa alive. I gave this a 4-star. It was very nostalgic. I read this when I was young, like young. It's only 81 pages, so it was a super quick read. But in Copile, characters got a 7. Atmosphere and writing got an 8. The plot got a 6. And the reason plot got a 6 was because it was so... I felt like it took time to get to the part of the story that was like the most important part, and then that part was rushed, and so I just wasn't as thrilled about that this time. Intrigue and logic, I gave it an 8, and enjoyment, I gave it a 7. The overall rating was a 7.43, which was just barely a 4-star. Like, I enjoyed it. I did cry from it. I cried from a lot of the books I read in June, just FYI. So if you want to see that, leave the vlog where I cry a lot up there for you. It was really good. It was just not as good as I remember it being. But I did cry still. The next book I read was The Smell of Other People's Houses. And this was on my self-destruct cup, or these books will self-destruct in 12 months. And I absolutely loved this. I gave this a 5-star. In Copile, characters got an 8. Atmosphere and writing got a 10 for me. It was just so good. Plot was an 8. Intrigue was a 10. Logic was an 8. Enjoyment was a 9. And the overall rating was 9.00, and it was 5 stars, hands down. This book is about 4 young, probably teenagers. They're probably between 15 and 16, maybe 14 and 16. But it's about how their lives have been kind of intertwined and how their lives intertwine. And there's a lot per person, per perspective that you get. There's a lot of things that kids shouldn't deal with, you know. I will say there's trigger warnings in this. I don't want to list them all because I don't want to give anything away, but I feel like it's important to note. So, for a minute, if you don't want to be spoiled for anything at all for this book, maybe go away until the next book pops up in the corner. But the trigger warnings are neglect of children, running away, the death of a parent, abandonment, abuse of a child, both physically and it's hinted at but not talked about as sexually as well, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, pregnancy, adoption. Yeah, there's a lot. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. So with that being said, though, it was a really great book and I highly recommend you read it. The next book was Come Tumbling Down by Sean McGuire. I know I read two in the month of June. Come Tumbling Down was for mine and Karina's Book IQ challenge. So I will leave that playlist up here for you if you want to check that out. Come Tumbling Down, I gave a 5-star. And I don't think I've given any in this series, except for maybe Down Among the Sticks and Bones, a 5-star. In Copile for Come Tumbling Down, for characters I gave it a 9. For atmosphere I gave it a 10. For writing I gave it an 8. For plot I gave it an 8. For intrigue I gave it a 10. For logic and enjoyment I gave it a 9. And the overall rating was 9.00, so a 5-star. This book, I can't really go into it because it's the 5th in this series, but it follows Jack and Jill. They're my favorite character. Well, Jack's my favorite character. And this one was really, really good. I highly recommend you check out this series. The next book that I read was Graceling by Kristen Couture. I think I'm saying that right. I give this a 5 stars. Oh my gosh, this was so good. I loved this book so much. So in Copile, I gave it a 9 for characters, atmosphere, writing, and plot. For intrigue, I gave it a 10. For logic, I gave it a 9. For enjoyment, I gave it a 10. It came out at a overall rating of 9.29. A definite 5-star read. This is about a girl who has 2 different color eyes, and if you have 2 different color eyes in this world, it means that you are graced. What that means is you have some sort of special ability that kind of makes you like superhuman almost, and hers, she believes, is fighting and killing people, like an assassin basically. So then she meets another Graceling and they end up having to team up. They don't really like each other at first. Well, she doesn't like him at first. And then they have to go on this adventure and they find out that her Grace is not exactly what they thought, and neither is his. So very interesting, very intriguing. I love their banter, and oh, it was so good, you guys. I think this is a very underrated series. I'm reading the second one now in July, and I'm absolutely adoring it. I highly recommend you check these out. The last book that I read in June was The Kingdom of Shadow and Light by Karen Marie Moning, the last book in the Fever series. I finally finished it. It was really hard to push through and finish this book because the series means so much to me, and I didn't want it to end. But this is the final book. So, I gave it a 5-star. Now, I was a tad disappointed by a couple things in this book, but I felt like I could not give it a 5-star. So, let's go over co-pile and then I'll explain. For characters, I gave it a 9. For atmosphere, I gave it a 10. For writing, I gave it an 8. For plot, I gave it a 9. For intrigue, I gave it a 10. For logic, I gave it a 9. For enjoyment, I gave it a 9. The overall rating was a 9.14, which is a 5-star. So here's the deal. In this last book, I wanted there, because the series after book, I think it's 4. Mind you, this one that I'm talking about is number 11. So, after book 4, there is a lot of smut. And so I was expecting there to be a ton of smut in this last book because it's the last book. There was not a ton. Yeah, I was highly disappointed by that fact. The other thing was the ending. The way it was written was really confusing to me. I really thought that in the end we were going to get an ending that was going to be highly disappointing, that was going to be a total cop-out ending, like she was dreaming or she was hallucinating or some cop-out like that. Luckily that did not happen. I was very happy about that. I've been worried about it the entire time I've read it, but the way it was written was a little confusing. That kind of is why the writing is down to an 8. And then the ending, I felt like there were certain things I really wish I would have seen from, like, to end the series, different characters, that I would have liked to see what was going on with them, and it just didn't hit that mark quite as well. I was a little disappointed with the ending, but I have to give her credit because she wrote this book, or tried to write it, after being sick with carbon monoxide poisoning for 2 years. So, you know, I have to give her a little bit of a break. So I don't know, I still loved it. Like, it didn't bother me too bad to the point where I was like, oh, I hate this. But there were just a few things I was a little disappointed about. But overall, I loved this series. I loved this book. So, 5-star. That is it for everything that I read in the month of June. So, let me know if there's any of these books that you've read and have given a different rating on. Let me know if there's any books that you're interested in reading that I just read. The question of the day is, what series do you think is an underrated series? And for me, it would be the Fever series, and it would also be the Graceling series. So far, I love the Graceling series. So with that being said, this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video. Please ding the little bell icon and consider hitting the subscribe button so you can join the 1000 Life fam with us here and get notified when I upload new videos. I upload new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Please remember to comment down below answer the question, ask me questions. Yeah, I would like to do a Q&A for my 4-year on BookTube, which is coming up in August. So if you have any Q&A questions, leave them down below for me. Also, remember, all of my social media links are in the description box below for you if you want to be my friend on any other platform. Remember, my Amazon wishlist is also in the description box below for you if you want to see the books that I am interested in, or if you fancy sending me a surprise. Remember, I have mental health links in all of my videos from the start of 2021. If you or someone you know needs them, please use them. Remember, a reader lives 1,000 lives, and so can you. So keep on reading. And remember to stay safe, be healthy, be happy, be kind, and always love one another. See you in the next video. Bye.
Hold tight, dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make